60, The Answer.
With the power of Tandem HR, you are in the fast lane on Main Street with Get Down to Business with Shalom Klein, the show for business and jobs. Now, the champion of networking, the advocate of jobs, the guru of business, your host, Shalom Klein.
Remember, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. That's what Eleanor Roosevelt once said. We are all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. And business, we love talking a lot about business here. You are on with Get Down to Business, and I'm your host, Shalom Klein. Remember, you can always download podcasts from Get Down to Business on my website at shalomklein.com. And while you are there, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Shalom Klein. It's going to be a jam-packed week of content and information you won't want to miss. This week, we're talking about entrepreneurship, and this week, we will be joined by guests Kenny Smilovitch, Dwayne Hirsch, and Ken Jarish, along with the new Playmaker Spotlight. And I'll be sharing some tips on how you can protect your small business's network and computers from viruses. Check out the website, shalomklein.com, and now thrilled to be joined on our telephone with Kenny Smilovitch of the Duman Center at JVS Chicago. Kenny, welcome to the program.
Thanks so much. Happy to be here.
So, Kenny, you help a lot of entrepreneurs, but I believe you are an entrepreneur yourself in your heart. So tell us a little bit about your story and how you ended up at the Duman Center.
Sure. Where to begin with my life trajectory? I'm originally from Canada, from Montreal, and I have a background in entrepreneurship, education, and marketing. So I've been working as a consultant in Canada for a little over 10 years, and I was also involved in the dot-com boom in the late 90s and with a retail-based database startup, and driving 12-hour days and making 5 meetings in a day and driving back to Montreal. So it got caught up, and I guess it was contagious, and I just enjoyed the energy and enthusiasm and creativity being around entrepreneurs. And my background in executive education and professional development really supported the educational component, which is so critical to developing a business.
So, Kenny, what brought you to sunny Chicago?
Well, my wife actually was offered a job at the Art Institute, and I moved here with her, and actually was teaching entrepreneurship at the Art Institute and still teach a couple of classes there. And one thing led to another, and here I am working with entrepreneurs at JVS Chicago, which is really interesting because my career started in Montreal working with JVS, and I helped start up the entrepreneurship program there. So in a way, it feels like I've come full circle.
That's great. So tell us a little bit about the Duman Center and the work that you guys are doing in helping entrepreneurs develop ideas and turn them into a reality. I believe you even might have some funding available, which is pretty exciting in a tough economic climate.
Yeah, the funding component, I think, is what makes Duman unique, especially that we have zero interest loans available and low-cost loans, really depending on the criteria and the individual's project.
But Kenny, you're not just throwing money at people; you're actually providing guidance and advice and coaching.
Absolutely. So the Duman Center at JVS Chicago, it offers support to small business owners to help them start or grow their businesses. So we're working with 3 different kinds or groups of clients. Pre-venture, and so these would be individuals who may be at the concept stage, startups who perhaps have been in business for a year or less, and established businesses. And so depending on the needs and the group, we offer one-on-one business counseling. We have business education workshops. We have a credit building service and advice and support. Help develop a business plan, and as I mentioned, the access to capital, which is critical bridge financing, which could also leverage other sources of financing.
We're talking with Kenny Smilovitch of the Duman Center at JVS Chicago. Kenny, what do you think of the entrepreneurial scene here in Chicago and really in the Midwest as a whole?
I think it's great. It's a really collaborative community. I was at an event at 1871, which is an incubator yesterday. familiar faces keep coming up at different events, and that's really what I'm trying to do with the Duman Center, sort of bring that collaborative spirit back. How could we all leverage one another's resources and create a meaningful community for entrepreneurs so they feel supported and connected to the scene?
You know, there's some great people out there, and there's some young people that have great ideas, and they just need a little bit of support, a little bit of help getting their ideas to the next level, and I believe that's what the Duman Center is set out to do. I couldn't help but notice a picture on Facebook the other day of you meeting with some other great individuals from some great organizations talking about creating Jewish entrepreneurship in a hub of resources. Can you fill us in a little bit about the what was going on in that conversation?
Yeah, we actually decided to meet monthly, so that was our second meeting, and we just thought it would be a good idea. There's all these pockets of activity, but just looking at how can we leverage one another's resources. So I met with a program called JCC Present Tense. There was a program called Upstart with Spiritus was represented there as well, and we just discussed how we can work effectively together and share resources. We all work with mentors, and how can we better leverage our resources and do some interesting planning together around entrepreneurship. So that's exciting development.
What do you think? Do you think that there's a recipe for success for an entrepreneur, a sort of one-size-fits-all approach, or is it more of a customized solution when somebody has an idea regarding the resources that they might need to get their business off the ground floor?
I think it is a customized approach. There are some key elements that you want to look for. I mean, for myself, I feel character is key, so that the individual is a good listener, is sort of supports the learning culture and the openness, that leads to objectivity. And it's a delicate balancing act because as entrepreneurs, we're so passionate about what we're doing and we're very close to it. But hopefully, the Duman Center and other entrepreneurship centers can provide that objectivity so that we can ask meaningful questions and minimize risk associated with startups.
And I know, Kenny, you mentioned the loan fund, and in just a few minutes we'll share, obviously, your contact information so our listeners can get a hold of you if they want to discuss it further. But I know entrepreneurs have a lot of different ideas. I want to focus on just retail because I know that's a very challenging arena. I know that there's a lot of big box stores that are out there, and they're able to compete at a much larger scale. Do you think that there's still a future in shopping local?
I think so, because there's always niche. I mean, it comes down to market segments and really clearly articulating your value proposition. And so I come from a marketing background, and I think understanding that competitive landscape, looking at how potential competitors position themselves, and then looking for opportunities. I mean, following the customer. It's key to be customer-focused and take your cue from customer needs. And there's always an opportunity to for a smaller business to provide something that perhaps the larger entities are missing out on. So
for our listeners that might not be as clued in as you and I about a unique value proposition, can you explain just in a little bit more detail what that means and what an entrepreneur should be thinking about when they draft that statement? Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Entrepreneurs often will say, I need money. But the real question is, what are you proposing? What value are you offering to the customer? How are you going to do something in a unique and meaningful way? How are you going to differentiate yourself in a meaningful way to a specific target audience? So it's identifying a need and responding to that need and creating value and understanding the values of your customer and the motivations of your customer. So there's many components that may be driving a customer to engage with you. That's great. When I say value proposition, it's really articulating the value that you're delivering to the customer. Unique value proposition, great advice from Kenny Smilovitch of the Duman Center at JVS Chicago. And you've got a unique value proposition. You've got some great services and programs that you're able to offer. So if you don't mind, Kenny, tell our listeners how they can get a hold of you and all the wonderful people over at JVS. Sure. The best way is to call 855-INFO-JVS or info@jvs.org, or you can go to the website, jvschicago.org/Duman. If you decide to call a JVS
a human being will answer the phone and guide you through the process. And I look forward to meeting all the entrepreneurs out there.
Fantastic. Well, once again, listeners out there, get on the website, jvschicago.org, and check out the Duman Center. They're doing some fantastic work, and we're thrilled to find future ways to partner and listen to this show. I'm sure we'll be having Kenny back on to talk about other resources as well. We appreciate your time. Get Down to Business is powered by Tandem HR, your solution center. Pick up the phone, give them a call at 630-928-0510. That phone number again is 630-928-0510. You can also email them, simplify@tandemhr.com. And of course, get on their website, tandemhr.com. Get Down to Business is also brought to you in part by Everett Wealth Solutions, a registered investment advisor and financial planning firm, a fiduciary advisor that helps you create your personal wealth. You can find them at everettwealthsolutions.com or call 708-771-7777. Chicago, don't touch that dial. We've got a lot more information for you. Coming up, we've got executive business coach Dick Smith. Don't touch that dial. You're listening to Get Down to Business.